Hey, really glad to see you. And a question I get asked often is how we can really create change in a toxic system and untie those ties to the toxic system that really bind us. It's a great question. It's a long question. So I'm going to split it up in three parts. And today, in part one, going to talk about awareness. First things first, you have to be aware that you're in a toxic family, in a toxic workplace, in a toxic relationship. And sometimes it's pretty surprising. So, awareness is the first step. And you want to look to see if you're being bullied. Are you being bullied? Are you being blamed unnecessarily when blame really doesn't belong to you and it's not effective? Are you being neglected or ignored? Are you being discounted? Are you being criticized for something that has nothing to do with you or manipulated? Oftentimes, in a toxic system, communication isn't direct, it's indirect, and manipulation is common. Gaslighting happens. You feel like you're the crazy one, but really that may not be true. And then there's favoritism. Oftentimes, someone gets all the attention and the accolades, and it's really grossly unfair. Or there's unhealthy competition. In my home, siblings were pitted against one another when I was growing up. And I've also seen that acted out in the workplace and even in relationships. It becomes tit for tat and who has the one up in the scenario. Or there's no stable ground rules. And if there are ground rules, they keep changing. Just when you thought you figured it out, boom, it changes. You feel anxious and on edge because you're getting a lot of mixed messages. And there's stress and anxiety that's almost continual. It's a negative atmosphere. Those of you that are empathic, that you can really feel and sense your surroundings, and you can sense the emotions and the moods of others, you're going to be feeling a darkness, a thickness, a denseness in the air. And you're not wrong. There's also a lot of backstabbing that happens, and it seems like that's natural. There's broken trust. And if you're in a workplace that's toxic, you can also add in that there may be high turnover rate, a lot of burnout, and harassment, along with few real growth opportunities. So, becoming aware that you're in a toxic family system, workplace, or relationship also involves becoming aware of what you're feeling, what emotions are really relevant. Some of these may include you're anxious, you feel isolated, there's little emotional or even physical support. You're constantly living in fear and you want reassurance, but you don't really know where to get it. And maybe you're going back to the same sources for the assurance and reassurance, and you feel like it's going to run out. You're wondering if you're the crazy one. You're feeling like you need to be perfect just to find some kind of safety. And guess what? It's backfiring. The more you try to be perfect, the more it backfires. Or you're the troublemaker to bring attention to yourself, to get some kind of recognition that you're alive, that you exist, and that you matter. There's high levels of frustration that bounce. You're experiencing anger and maybe even rage. You're depressed. There's sadness that's around. You feel undervalued. You are unseen. You are helpless. You are hopeless. You're apathetic. You're confused. and you're exhausted. If any of these feelings, emotions, or scenarios feel familiar, guess what? You've probably been raised in a toxic system and you're repeating the scenario, or you're in a toxic workplace or relationship. The good news is there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of help. This is being unveiled for so many of us, especially as the energies continue to rise here on Earth, as we're being pounded by solar energies that are lifting the frequency, as the Schumann resonance, which is a scientifically improved frequency, raises on planet Earth. It is bringing all the darkness out and onto the table. So if you're having experiences of anxiety, if you're seeing behaviors come up and you have no tolerance for it, if you have a lot of self-hate and insecurity coming up for actions you've taken, this is all part of it. You're in the right place. There is nothing wrong with you. There's everything right and ripe for opportunity to explore, to take a deeper look and become aware. So that was part one of a 3-part series, and I'll reveal part 2 next week. And believe me, we'll get some tools for soothing. If you want something immediate, please go to susangold.us. There's a free course called Signs of a Toxic Family. It gives you some signs, it gives you some scenarios, and it gives you some direct tools for healing. You just add in your email address. And if this video has helped you, please consider liking, making a comment, subscribing, or sharing, because it really helps the channel. I'm grateful for the over 1,000 subscribers that we have today, and I'm grateful for our community. And I hope you'll tune in next week for part 2 of this series on creating change within toxic system ties, because believe me, it's possible, and we are in this together. Take good care, and I'll see you next time.